How's everybody doing? In today's video, I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to solve a very common issue with guitar pickup selector switches. So the other day, I went to practice. I plugged my Gibson Les Paul into my Mesa triple rectifier. Right off the bat, it sounded very muddy. Now you're probably going to say, of course, but it sounded muddier than usual for that rig. So my first instinct, I was making sure my tones were up. I was making sure my volumes were up. I turned around, I looked at the input into the amp. That was good. Then of course I went down to my pedal board and I started unplugging and reconnecting every single thing. Nothing really seemed to affect it. I checked the mixing board connection, that was okay. So then I turned the volume up on my neck pickup and I switched to the neck pickup and it came through just like normal. Switched back to the bridge pickup, it was muddy and very, very quiet. Now since I was trying to practice and I knew what it was, on the fly I kind of just whacked the switch back and forth a few times, strum pretty hard, whack it back and forth, and then the signal did come up and I was able to play like normal. In fact, it still sounds totally fine. I tried to replicate it just now with this Katana and it wouldn't even do it, but it does need this. So sometimes what will happen is the contact point on your pickup selector switch will get just the smallest amount of corrosion, or it'll oxidize a little bit, so that sometimes when you switch to a certain pickup, whenever it makes contact in that position, the sound will sound really weak and muddy or muffled sounding. And sometimes you can solve it just by strumming hard. If you just send more signal through it, the connection will improve. Sometimes you can strum hard and then move the switch back and forth, and that will usually give you a good enough signal for that session. Depending on the level of quality of the switch itself, what I'm about to show you, either could be a small crutch, it could be a several year solution, or it could be a permanent solution. So if you have a really cheap switch that's corroding really bad, this might only get you out of the woods for a short period of time. If you have like a decent quality switch, you probably don't need to do this more than once every few years. I've been meaning to make this video for a while. I just never had any guitar that would do it that I needed to demonstrate it on. Finally, my favorite guitar, does actually have that issue. Keep in mind this guitar is 15 years old, and I don't think that the switch is going to ever need to be changed, but this will prolong its life, give it a better connection, and it'll stop it from doing that cutting out thing when I switch positions. So all you're going to need to do this is whatever tool it will take to get access to your switch, which is usually just a screwdriver. You don't need to remove the switch, you just need to be able to access the back of it. And then this, which is PV Funk Out. This is basically an aerosol spray of a very, very light, sort of watery electronics cleaner. It's got to be some sort of dielectric film, as they describe on their own can. As they describe on their own can, treatment for high-tech controls, switches, and contacts, improves definition and dynamic range, improves conductivity, deoxidizes, cleans, and preserves, reduces connection failures, reduces wear and abrasion, temperature range -30 to 392 degrees Fahrenheit, effective on similar and dissimilar metals, used on stationary and moving connections, which would be a switch. So essentially, and actually they give you very simple directions on here, which I was going to explain anyway. Turn off your equipment. I mean, it's a guitar, so whatever. Apply a short burst of PV Funk Out to the metal surface. Operate the device to help break up oxides and contamination. So this actually, with or without Funk Out, is what I was saying about moving the switch back and forth to break up the oxidation, but you will do that after you spray it. And that's basically the entire process. So what I'm going to do is unscrew this backing plate for my selector switch. It may be kind of difficult to get this out, actually. then hopefully, being more careful than me, you're going to be able to actually get the plate out. Oh my God. Well, I'm gonna have to do a lacquer touch-up now because I wasn't careful enough, but essentially, there you can see the switch is now exposed. What's nice about being able to see it is that you can actually see how the switch operates when you're looking at it. So as I move it, you can see as essentially you're just flicking something against these contacts. And as you move the switch, you can actually see it hitting the contacts. So you know where you have to aim when you spray this. Because I don't want to make a bigger mess than I have to, I've added the little straw that comes on the can. And then all I'm going to do is stick it down as deep as the contacts are here and hit it from the back. What I'm also going to do is make sure my strap is not in the way of this, because what'll probably happen is as I spray this, it can come through the other side and drip out the front of the guitar. So here's this first contact. And then flick it to the back. There it is. And it's really, you don't need to spray a whole lot of it. See, already on my fingers, when I'm moving the switch, it has come through the front, which I kind of knew was going to happen, because the contact where it pivots is the same piece of metal as your switch tip, so naturally it's going to drip through. So essentially I have just this little paper towel where I'm drying it off. And I oversprayed a little bit on the inside. Not that this really matters, the inside of your control cavity, but I'm just kind of dabbing it up a little bit. Okay, so now that's been sprayed. Essentially, I'm just wiping everything off from around the switch. Not that complicated. Move it back and forth a few times. There's that. This guitar has a chrome switch tip and it's kind of slippery, but it'll dry off eventually as you use it. And there you go. This is a really tight fit for this plate. I don't know if it's because it's that weird metal one just for this model, but I have not really had such a hard time getting a switch plate off to where I had to chip it. But anyway, now we're just ready to screw that back on. Usually I run these screws just most of the way down, because as you do each one, or at least after the first one, the plate might pivot on it, and then you got to make sure they're all still lined up before you start ramming them down. So I did the first two most of the way, and then only once the third one landed do I land the first two. But there you go. So now the switch is clean and ready to go for another 15 years, hopefully. If you like this video, don't forget to share it, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you guys next time.